why great content isn't enough anymore. Well, for that, may I please call upon stage the moderator, Pankaj Sharma, Chief Executive Officer and Director, MGID. Please give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And the panelists are Anant Roongta, Managing Director, Famous Studios. Round of applause. Adityan Kayalakal, VP Brand and Strategy, Pocket FM. Round of applause. And Sanjay Sindhwani, Director, Indian Express Digital. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Pankaj. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was actually very happy to see the discussion that was happening. And it says that why the regional content is the biggest opportunity. And I think so this session has been followed by very rightly put up that, where is the monetization gap and why great content isn't enough anymore. As we see earlier on how the dynamic used to work in, if you have a great content, just build it up, audience will follow, and the monetization starts. But I think the bigger question these days has come in that, okay, I have a great content, but possibly I'm not able to monetize it well. Whether I'm a publisher, which is struggling these days to get quality traffic despite of having best of best content, or whether it's an audio content, which is best in world, especially in US or some other places, but India mein traction nahi aa raha hai. And to address this gap today, we're going to discuss a lot, and I'm happy to be part of this panel discussion along with my panelists, and we will like to answer this question where the monetization gap is. So, first of all, I will like to ask a very, very basic question that in today's world, the biggest challenge today is not about creating content because we are in the AI world. Everyone is a content creator. But the bigger challenge is to find the audiences. So my question is that if you're creating a great content, how do you find the relevant audiences and what are the key? This is open to anyone, anyone can answer here.
So the odd part about content today, like you said, right, everybody can create all kinds of content with AI. But look, it also comes with that fair risk of there's a lot of AI slop. So obviously discovery is that much more critical because when you're an authentic platform, so the top platforms of the world, whether it's Netflix, whether it's YouTube, whether it's any of them, will obviously get an advantage because you go to them expecting a certain benchmark of quality, right? So legacy will have that advantage in a big way because they've already set a track record of delivering good quality content over a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, whatever it is. But then you also have to sort of roll with what is the consumption arena that consumers are seeking out. If you choose to deliver content in a style that is not evolving, and look, Netflix is good at this. They've evolved into Korean, they've evolved into reality, they've evolved into movies or shows or games, exactly as consumers have evolved, basically. They've really kept pace with it. Not everybody is able to do that. And I think there is always going to be a new flavor. So there are new partners that are coming up or new platforms that are coming up who identify that flavor or that trend that is really sort of working at that moment. Or they're seeing that, look, something is dying as a format and we can replace that with something that is better. COVID happened, all of us stopped going to theaters, OTT apps went through the roof at that point of time. We all suddenly started paying for it, right? Which was a big difference from before when nobody really wanted to pay. I think that became a moment where the good apps, the ones that really had a depth of content, were able to have something that was a long-term offering versus the ones that had a small, okay, one movie here, one movie there, became short-term sampled and that's it, it went away basically.
Maybe, Sanjay sir, you might have a different opinion altogether because you've been creating content for so many years and every year is a new challenge and because the diaspora, the kind of content you create is diverse.
So I think consumption patterns change as people evolve, as platforms evolve, as media evolve, and one has to keep pace with that. So I think that's one element of what content to produce. Second is what need are you serving? Are you serving a need of entertaining somebody, informing somebody, educating somebody? I think one has to be very clear about what is the purpose behind that content. And then, is your content better than everybody else? You know, there was an era when we were living in a content deficient era, and we were just talking about it in the room, when you had very few movies, you know, limited number of movies, limited television. Yesterday I mentioned that, you know, Nirma was built on a Chitrahar because there were just two things to watch on television. There was a Chitrahar and the Hindi movie that happened on Wednesday and Sunday. And everybody, appointment viewing happened around that, right? The whole family and friends would sit in front of a TV and watch. So if you owned that platform as an advertiser, you had the reach. But now with so much choice, the point is, if you look at the population and the amount of content, the amount of content per population is exploding. And with AI, it's going to accelerate further, which means the unit economics of every piece of content is going to be more difficult to monetize. So at one end, AI is going to help you reduce the cost. But at the other end, it will increase the supply, which means you will have to figure out how many people do you need to really reach out to and able to monetize that content and make value out of it.
Correct.
And sometimes it may be a niche that will work for you. In the previous discussion, I was overhearing like, you know, Malayalam market is a very small market, but yet highly monetizable. While Hindi market, somebody said, they don't touch it because even though it's the most biggest market, maybe it's not as monetizable.
Okay. So maybe you would like to add somewhere here.
I think I'll echo what both the other panelists said here. See, we use a lot of AI to create content, so it's very understood that AI is a tool. It's going to accelerate, it's going to allow you to create content faster, and now in some cases even better. So someone had asked a question before this in the last panel. AI is obviously more being used by us in a hybrid format rather than straight image to video, because you still don't get certain consistencies, etc. But when it comes to the monetization part, I think I can give a simple example, right? If you look at horror, horror is becoming a genre that's becoming very popular. Case and example is the recent Hollywood film Obsession that was made in a shoestring budget, but it's completely smashed the box office. In India as well, there are many such different genres of horror. There's folk, there is paranormal, you name it. There's 4 or 5 different. But I just feel when you're creating content, you need to now look at sub-genres, niches, and the next generation that's going to watch content, for them, I personally believe there are 2 things. Either the content should be aspirational, where they come out inspired, or it should be relatable, where they're like, "Arey haan, ye to hamare daily lives mein hota hai." So a simple example, when we were kids, what really broke the kind of market and the whole content thing for us was Dil Chahta Hai, you know, back in the day. Because we imagined, like I imagined myself and 2 of my best friends taking a road trip to Goa. And that was a film that broke all stereotypes back in the day. There's a lot of opportunities now as well. Coming to monetization, yes, there are too many platforms. Trying to get eyeballs to watch and pay for what you are pushing out there is definitely a challenge. But I feel when you start creating content, you need to start thinking about the longevity of that particular IP well in advance. And it's not a game anymore of मैंने 15 crore डाल दिया and release होते मुझे 30 मिल जाएगा. If you're putting that 15, be prepared for a slightly longer run. It's like how we invest in 10 different companies, 2 or 3 succeed, we make our money back, the other 7 might not succeed. So, yeah.
That's a very interesting, and I think with the advent of AI, and if you're not talking about AI in this room, I think we are missing something really big. As you mentioned that AI is aiding in content creation, but do you think that it is already disrupting the publisher ecosystem, the way you monetize your content? Or is it like, creating that kind of a big gap between what you produce and what you monetize? Maybe from publisher point of view and maybe from the content point of view, it's like enabler or is a disruptor? What do you think?
I think it plays both parts. So on certain functions, it makes the job easier. For instance, I'll talk about textual content. I think when we talk about content, it's very important to say what content are you referring to, because everyone has its own different nuances. So in textual content, for instance, SEO optimization, summarization, these are things which AI does very well. But while for SEO, which is a technical thing, which is not what the consumer is seeing, we are okay trusting AI. But when we are doing summarization, we always have human in the loop because we still don't believe that we can leave things to AI, especially when, as a responsible newspaper, our readers believe every word that we say. So to maintain that trust, we always keep human in the loop. But I think there are other aspects where AI plays a part beyond content. When I have to do research, for instance. And a large part of my career was Economic Times, and I'll probably illustrate this with an example how AI plays a role. The budget used to be the biggest revenue day for the Economic Times because that was one document which impacted the industry. Excise rates, income tax rates, customs rates, everything would change. Fortunes were made on the stock market. Companies' bottom lines and business plans would change because of changes in the excise duty, custom duty structures. And access to information was limited. I'm not talking about 20, 25 years back. So you got the budget document, you had a team of 200 experts in your various journalists who had access to further experts in tax and consulting enterprises. They would reach out, analyze, and present that, and next day everybody would get the analysis. Right? Now, that was the biggest revenue opportunity for Economic Times in a given day. Look at it today. The budget document comes in, you get the PDF, you upload it into Notebook LLM, you can analyze it for yourself. That entire value addition which the whole team of ET with an expertise of maybe 400 years or 500 years, which they all brought together, gone just like that.
Right? But the cost is coming down, I understand. But when it comes to monetizing, say cost of content creation has possibly come down. But the way you used to monetize then and now, how do you see the gap?
That's the example. That's why I give that specific example. So something that used to monetize at the largest monetization for a day is today gone as an opportunity. That value addition which the expertise of the journalist was doing is today done by AI, and it is done on a real-time basis. I don't need to wait even 5 minutes. I get the document, I upload it, I say, okay, I've created my persona. I'm a CEO of a media industry. Please analyze this document and tell me how my industry is going to get impacted. And it will tell me specifics. These are the sections where you're getting impacted. So suddenly that whole opportunity is gone. So you have to rethink. You have to think out of the box and say, first you have to understand where it's going to hit you. Then you have to think, okay, where are the new opportunities getting created? And then you have to start experimenting with those because some of those ideas will work, some will not work.
Yeah. So possibly we are in that zone wherein we are still trying to evaluate and see how to get the best out of the AI. At one side it is helping. Maybe what's the case in terms of video production or audio production if you want to add up?
So I think there's a quick example here and we'll ask the audience a little bit. How many people here like listening to good stories? Just hands up for a second. I'm guessing everybody, right? How many of you have ever written a story? Quite a few hands still, which is quite amazing. How many of you are published authors?
I think with AI, I can become one.
Right? So one hand. We realize the exact same thing. AI doesn't need to make up for a shortage of storytellers or story writers. What it needs to do is it needs to make a bunch of you guys who's never published a book before become a published author. That's actually tough. Because for a person who's writing their first story, they need a room that they're bouncing ideas with. They need a fabulous editor. They need a publisher. They need distribution. And that distribution eventually leads to monetization, right? Pocket FM has one simple hypothesis for how it wants to use AI for all of these things. It wants to basically fill all those other loops other than the writer loop. The writer already exists. We got 1.5 billion people. We cannot go wrong with that. If we can't find storytellers here, the problem's us, not you guys, right? But can I provide everything else in between for actually having more published authors? And if that can be solved by AI, because that's all logic, basically, right? That's all process. That becomes an easy way to actually close the loop. So we're actually going to create more published authors over the next few years than any publishing house, any printing press, any OTT platform. That is the way to change the thing. Because now there's different AI to produce it, get the cost across and all of that. But if you don't have the stories, what will you produce? Because good stories lead to good content, basically, right? And the problem is everybody's jumped to the production part of it, which is saying, let's create video, let's create audio, let's create graphics, let's create animation. अच्छा story तो निकाल दे पहले.
So, a follow-up question on that, that when we say, I have a good story, I have a very good content, but somewhere I'm struggling to figure out how I make money out of it. Because possibly you invested 1 CR or 30 CR, you are saying someone invested, but you want an ROI in 1 year or max to max 2 years, 3 years, but especially when the audio, when it's all about storytelling, how do you actually monetize that content and make money?
See, we've been fortunate. The pay-as-you-go model has worked well for us. I'm not saying that's the magic bullet that answers all questions, because look, as an organization, we'll continue to experiment with ways to monetize our content, right? Whether it's licensing it, whether it's subscriptions, whether it's a pay-as-you-go model, whether it's advertising, all of it. You don't take anything off the table. And I think that's the most critical thing. Today, you see the biggest titans of this industry, they've continued to evolve. Amazon said for the longest time, no ads, right, on Prime Video. How many ads do we see in a 30-minute show right now? And look, I don't blame them. They've realized that the number of people who are willing to pay the subscription fee has changed. Look at how much the subscription fee itself has increased. Used to be $4.99, became $9.99, now it's $14.99. Plus you remove the ads, you're close to about $2,500 basically, right? This is from somebody who said 100 rupees a month and things like that. I remember a campaign a very long time back. The only thing that is a constant reality in this is, look, keep experimenting new formats. We all thought that gaming will never work. Gaming's creating more money for a lot of these publishers than anything else is, basically, right? YouTube introduced tipping. You can directly give money to your favorite creators one-on-one. YouTube's just an intermediary. It's a payments processor at that point of time. And they picked this up from Patreon, they picked this up from Twitch and things like that. There is always going to be a disruptor. Our responsibility is to not ignore those disruptors and say, look, something's working well today, but doesn't mean that we don't try the 5 new things that are being tried by other platforms, basically.
Correct. So, these days there are too many choices which are available to you. You are on Netflix, you are on Amazon Prime, you are on so many, or go to a YouTube that has got a lot of user-generated content. So my question to you, Anant, will be that what does it really make a difference? Whether it's the IP, whether it's the distribution, or whether it's the fan community? What makes a difference here?
So I think all three make a big difference. You can only call content an IP if it has a certain longevity, and beyond selling it as content, what other breakthrough areas can you sell it as? So a very simple one everyone understands is merchandise, right? Or from that one single piece of content, can you create subplots? So say there are 5 characters. So let's just take Mahabharata for an example, right? There's Pandav, Kaurav, right? So now if we look at all 5 Pandavas also, each of them have a very unique story. So say the Mahabharata comes out, and then you go into this imaginary world and you start creating a separate piece of content on Arjun, on Bhim. There is an opportunity there because it keeps, then comes the part of the community. Most of us know of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Most of us have been taught the learnings from both the epics. There are people who are following it even more to go deeper into learning. So as a creator, what is it that you can offer them as a learning through creating beautiful content with the help of AI, etc., whatever. So I think there's a huge opportunity for plots and merchandise, and a very simple example which everyone will know is let's say Disney. Disney obviously is IP king in the world. Last year, I'd gone to one of the theme parks, and we've entered this zone which is Star Wars. It's crazy the way they've built it, but they're charging that kind of money. So even if a film is not doing well, they've got cruises, they've got the theme parks that are making the money for them. And let's be honest, there are going to be different times where certain businesses might not do well and certain will do well, but the IP is there, allowing them to monetize through a different sort of route.
So, also, I will have a question for you. Like we discussed about IPs. You said that, okay, if I'm upfront investing into an IP, wherein I have to pay upfront, which I'm not sure of what kind of revenue it's going to generate. So what is dilemma you into? What kind of planning that goes into, acquiring this IP and ensuring that you get money ROI, high ROIs from these kind of properties?
No, absolutely. We published this a few months back. We bought the rights for Bahubali. We're creating a new show in that universe, 250 episodes, massive production, obviously, right? And yeah, it comes out of a certain calculation that we think there is an X number of users who will pay to consume more content in that world. And for the size of IP, it's relatively undertapped, right? And that's an important calculation, undertapped being a critical term here, right? Like right now, how many people want to see a new Ant-Man movie again? Ant-Man 5, not too many people. But at the same time, if I say, hey, do you want to see the next KGF? Probably there'll be a few more hands for that, right? So there's a slight calibration you have to make to saying that, look, I want more of this or I don't want more of this. And then you're making your licensing decisions as per that because you're betting on the fact that there is still enough juice and enough demand for this IP. So you're able to sort of create a supply chain for it and tap into the demand that exists, right? But also, just to add one more point to what Anant said, and I think the example he brought about was very interesting, Obsession, right? Obsession is not an IP, it's not born of anything, right? There was zero base material. But it won on one very important thing. It won on quality. And I feel that quality has to be the fundamental thing of anything that we do in the content space,
Correct.
right? Great IP still needs good quality. Great IP, Marvel is phenomenal as IP, Star Wars is phenomenal as IP. They wavered exactly for half a second and you saw how the franchises started crumbling, basically, right? Endgame is supposed to be the savior, but they've had so many flops in between, basically, right? And I think that's a good reminder for us on an ongoing basis that distribution, platform, IP, nothing can save us if we don't have good quality at the outset of it all. Great quality makes up for everything else because suddenly people will discover you. There is this movie that I saw on Amazon. This is not an ad for Amazon, just FYI, but I saw an Amazon Prime video called Kumbadangi Nights. I'm a Mallu who doesn't live in Kerala anymore, but I discovered it from my non-Mallu speaking friends. Because it's a great story, very well directed, nice theme for the movie and stuff like that, and word of mouth really traveled for that movie. So yes, it's not a 1,000 crore box office record-breaking film, but that film has made so much money from there that it has made iconic characters. So Afaha is iconic because that's one of the movies that he's done, for example, right?
Correct.
So you're seeing things born out of good quality content, basically.
Quality is the king. I think, coming to you, Sanjay sir, when we say you have quality content, you have quality video, audio, all sitting on your website, what are the different strategies a publisher can adopt in for monetizing that content? Because audiences are coming in, you have invested heavily into creating that thing with the research-based articles, but end of the day, it should make money. Advertising is not supporting. How do you look at some of the channels there?
So I think for us it was like we moved into subscriptions about 3 years back because we realized that advertising alone will not be sustainable, and thankfully we have a core audience which is very loyal to the brand and who appreciate the kind of journalism we do. So we put the content behind a paywall, and over the years we have kind of added a lot of people who come in for subscriptions. And I think it was a good move at the right time because with AI what we are realizing is a lot of top of the funnel that was coming in because of search and discover is now going away. And as the habits of consumers change from doing searches which lead to clicks to AI-led searches which lead to a zero click, I think that core community is what will drive bulk of our revenues. And typically the people who subscribe are the ones who consume a lot more than people who don't subscribe. So while in terms of percentages, they may be single digit in terms of subscriber numbers, but in terms of their contribution to the page views which lead to the ad inventory, it is almost 50%. So for me, it's like, you know, my 50% of my revenue is also now intact, because what we've also seen is a person before he's a subscriber is consuming X, but the moment he becomes a subscriber, in order to extract more value, he starts consuming more. So not only does he give me more money because as a subscriber, but he also generates more ad inventory. And the best part is because I know this user is predictable in his behavior. He's going to come more often. I know what he likes to read. I have his first party data. I'm able to do better ad targeting on that consumer set. So while when we started subscriptions, it was largely about, okay, creating an extra revenue stream. But what we realized was even on the main revenue stream of advertising, having a subscriber adds a lot more value than what was initially apparent to us.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point because subscription you will have 5 or 10% of people paying, and we say advertising and targeting. So all of the performance marketed who are sitting, he's gonna say, okay, you have the great audiences. Tell me what kind of CPL you will give me. So how do you tackle those kind of questions?
So I mean, we still haven't moved to a performance-based model or advertising, and the reason being that to move to performance, I need to really kind of deliver ads in a targeted manner. A spray and pray model doesn't work for performance delivery model. So we are right now working. So last 2 years we built our CDP. We now have data on 300 million people on our cluster of websites. And as a first step, we are working on content personalization because we realize that because of the external traffic declining and to grow subscriptions, we need to drive engagements. So we're using that data right now to drive the engagement on the content. And over a period of time, we are working with partners to eventually open up that data to advertisers as well. And I think brand marketing is going to come back because a lot of content-led marketing or SEO-based marketing which used to happen. You see, so when I say traffic is going to decline to publishers, I'm not the only one suffering.
Correct.
Because search was driving traffic to everyone, to big publishers like us, to the long tail of people who are independently producing content. Everybody is going to lose traffic. So while there'll be, at one end, we'll see a lot of AI-generated content coming up. At the other end, a long tail of people who are producing content will also vanish. So the overall inventory pie is going to reduce.
Correct.
Right? And because with zero click, your engagement is not going to go to any third-party site. I think the demand for publishers who have traffic and loyalty with their core customers, eventually the prices will start going up. And what I have spoken to marketers is, see, performance works, but in the absence of brand marketing, the cost of performance keeps going up.
100%.
So you need to have a right mix. So I think what we believe is quality audiences with quality engagement, which offer a great branding opportunity to brands. We are happy continuing that, and we expect the price cycle to now start turning in the other direction because the demand-supply equations are going to change.
Correct. So I think in the morning there was a very interesting, I will come back to give you an opportunity. In the morning we were discussing about that SEO is not dead. Possibly it has taken different form, and each and every brand or marketer have to start creating quality content so that it can feed the AI who is giving you a summary and get featured in. Maybe you will have some views to share on this or to add to what Sir said.
Very recent example for Famous. So we set up this Instagram page, which is our IP. It's called groundzero.daily. And it's just stories on India, 1 minute reels, and we're basically talking, or we're trying to push out content from the cultural, the military, entrepreneurship perspective, all good things about the country that people might have not heard about, or unheard stories. We've backed it. We've spent a certain amount of money in the last 8 or 9 months, all organic, and it's touched about 300,000 followers, but we're doing 60 to 65 million views a month, okay? 75% of the views are from non-followers. And they are coming, 75% of the audience is not from the metros. It's coming from all the smaller parts of the country.
Wow.
So there is, but I think what has made that page a success, there's a joint passion about telling India's story in a small way, relatable, and putting things into perspective. So there is, I still feel if you have the passion and you deep dive into a certain topic or certain genre, I don't see any reason why you can't monetize. So now we're thinking next steps. What is it that we can do? How is it that we can? So we're also thinking numbers. Like today, if I have to maybe create a small digital book, 100 pages, 100 stories from last year, and maybe sell it online for 10 rupees with a QR code. And if you go on the QR, that original video of that story plays. And if I have 60 million views a month, even a small percentage of it takes it, it's made the money back.
Yeah.
I mean, but till we don't try, we won't know, right? But it's something that I truly believe. It's my belief that it will do well. So I think you have to find your own niche, and then obviously you have to understand, how Sir said, metrics. I don't know if you all use, there are many MarTech tools now that do predictive analysis also. So even when it comes to performance-based, we produce a lot of content for brands as well, right? We do a lot of TV commercials and things. We slowly see the independent agencies now moving to an outcome-based model. So things are changing. The brand is, or the CMO is now pressurizing the agency that, look, you're not just a vendor, you're technically sitting on my board, I'm taking your advice, I'm paying you so much, but the balance will be a success fee based on whatever, either my revenue goes up or there's more CPC or there's more people that have viewed it.
No, that's quite interesting. I think what core point you mentioned is that we have to start thinking out of the box, and somewhere think that how my content can be more valuable. Not in say India, can it be valuable in US? Can it be valuable? That's the reason I think many of the publishers ecosystem survived, because you have 70% traffic coming from India, 30% is from US. I'm making more money in US than what I'm making in India. And because we as a content monetization platform, we have seen this across, that most of this traffic used to come from US, UK, Canada. That used to generate a lot of traffic. There was web stories that used to generate. But now that equation is changing. So my question is that, how do you see the future of content? It's going to be video, it's going to be audio, or it's going to be like publishing? And where you see that next 5 years, how the content is going to get monetized?
See, there is no way to say content will be only video, content will be
AI
audio.
can show you future.
I will doubt that future tremendously. Look, there's going to be moments for specific consumption, right? Horses for courses, the way we say it. When you're sitting on the couch in the evening after you finish dinner, you want to watch video most probably, because you're not really watching at that point. You're half scrolling your phone and something's on the TV for satisfaction's sake. So tab video chalega. When you're either driving or you're in the metro, or if you're in the rickshaw or Uber or something like that, most likely you want to listen to something. You don't really want to watch something. Not at the kind of road sickness that you can have in India when you're going through potholes and stuff like that. I hope the government's not listening to this one, otherwise I'm getting a raid. But it's going to be a when and what do you want to consume argument, right? I don't think there's going to be a shortage of anything. Today, radio is still listened to, Spotify is still listened to, there is still a YouTube, there's still a Netflix. The biggest thing that we assume is one has to die for the other to exist. It doesn't. I think there is enough people choosing one or the other, and it's just the moment of consumption is varying at this point of time, right? And in fact, I find that people are willing to pay more than ever before if there is good quality content. Because they've suddenly gotten to this point, because they've started equating it, saying, look, I used to pay for my cable connection, I used to pay for my newspaper, I used to pay for news. So they've beginning to question the fact that it's not such a bad thing if I'm being asked to pay for some of these things. Yes, they're being selective. They're not going to pay for everything. Somebody's not going to pay for New York Times and for ET and for Indian Express and for Hindu and for Lok Satta. They also draw a line saying, देखो भाई, मैं दो के लिए पैसे दूंगा. That they just get choosy about which two, basically.
So,
No, I think quality is, at the core of this. At the end of the day, as I said, what value are you delivering to the consumer? That is what matters. If he's finding value and you are delivering the objective with which he's paying you, I think you have a game. If you're not delivering that value, then it doesn't work.
Pankaj,
Pankaj, I need to
yes,
sign
yes.
off.
I think we just 5 minutes, so we will take your leave, and I can continue with this thing. Any question from the audiences? We have another 5 minutes to take the questions.
Thank you guys. Sorry, I have to leave. I have a flight to catch. So
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us there. One second. Can we have a group photo for and then we continue our discussion. We have another 5 minutes to go. Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, yeah. I was referring to that, what content will be successful. There is not kind of one strategy that can fit. And I think most of these platforms can coexist. Like, you are on Spotify, on YouTube, you're also consuming content, video content, you're also reading articles. It's all about the value. But finding that right audiences, how tasking it is to, promote your content or distribute your content, or in order to get the best out of the buck from this thing. Any thoughts here?
I mean, he'd obviously know more because he's going after IPs and he's got his own platform, etc. But if you ask me from a creative point of view, like I just mentioned previously, there's a certain passion that I have. And I feel I have the ability to maybe convert that passion into meaningful stories. Even though those stories are available, all I'm doing is aggregating it in a nicer, more an easier way for someone to understand. And I believe eventually I will be able to monetize it. I'll find the audience. Now, on this Insta page, we've not spent a penny on media buying. Like, we don't have bot followers. We've got organic followers. The only money I've paid is to the agency who's helping me create the content, but they're not spending a money on media buying. That gave me a lot of confidence that if I focus on, say, my passion, which is maybe India, I can get a decent following. Now, the next step is how do I convert those followers into paying followers? Like, they're actually paying for a certain product or some kind of content which, I can generate revenue from. I think that's really my thought. Another really funny example, my son was playing Fortnite yesterday. And Odyssey had their premiere here, so everybody knows that Nolan was here in town and whatnot. All of a sudden, he's like, Dad, there is an Odyssey bundle which has come to Fortnite. Some 799 or 899 rupees. So he's obviously read about the story. He's not seen the movie. He's also understood that it's something to do with Greek mythology. And now he loves playing Fortnite, so he just wants that Odyssey pack. So another way by which a filmmaker is monetizing, say, with an Epic Games, and it's like 800 rupees being, click. So there are multiple ways to cross-promote and cross-sell also, I feel.
100%. I think so. Marvel is a great example. You see Iron Man to Hulk to all those miniatures that was a one movie, but that content gets disseminated everywhere. They try to, monetize it by way of toys, in terms of maybe after I'm done with my movie, I will give it to an OTT or some other thing. Possibly that content is going to make money throughout the life chain. Maybe any thoughts here?
Honestly, we all assume that it's really hard to monetize content. I disagree, fundamentally, and I tell you why. We've seen the most unlikely content make tons of money. YouTube pays you money for content. TikTok pays you money for content. Twitter pays you money for content. So does Instagram. All of these platforms are willing to pay creators. If you put great content, you're not just generating money on a one-time basis, you're generating on a recurring basis, and it's a very, very healthy amount of money. Samay Raina has come from nowhere, not done a Netflix special, not done stand-up comedy. Well, if he does, I think the court will have something to say about it. But he's making more money than maybe half the comedians in the country combined at this point of time, right? And now he's gone on to find different avenues for his own thing. So he's doing Latent. Latent is now also managing the comedians that come on there, the talent that comes on their show. So they opened up a new revenue source. Brand integrations is a massive other revenue source. This deal with Netflix is another revenue source. Fundamentally came out of good content, found a way to distribute it, found his audience, that's it, it took off. I think everybody just needs to go back to the basics of great content, find your audience. And that's usually the hard one, right? Because everybody says, let me find the widest possible audience. So I was right. I think finding a niche audience sometimes is far more important than finding everybody. Because everybody does not necessarily need to care about your content, basically, right? But if you're a horror movie and if you find that horror niche and they're going to tune into your content, you will make money off of that content.
Yeah. I think only one thought that comes to my mind is that, it's all about, great content. So content is the king and discovery is the queen. So if your content is not discoverable by, anyone, it's nothing. is good for nothing because it's lying there, but no one is able to discover it. So I think so any brand or a company or a publisher who creates a great content and distribute it to the channels and engage the audiences, that's going to help in monetization. And I think that will be the way forward for this industry, how to monetize the content, because the opportunities are immense. It's up to you how you want to innovate, how you want to come out with a new solution in order to monetize the question. Any questions from the audiences? We can take 2 questions at max. Nothing? Okay, with that, thank you so much for joining us, and it was a pleasure to have all our panelists from video to audio to publisher segment. And remember, you are also a content creator. Think about a journey how you can monetize your content. So believe in quality, believe in distribution and building a community. And possibly tomorrow you will be sitting with us and trying to discuss how to make the next billion from content. Thank you.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.